All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about, what was it? When, how do we know? Or,
How do you decide when something is enough? That's an interesting question, actually. Now that I think about it a little deeper, that's an interesting question.
yeah, because everybody's version of, because they're saying, how do you decide when something's enough? So that can vary a lot.
Yeah, but only according to, like, all right, so you have a understanding of what's enough, but who's to say your understanding of enough is right? So it may vary between people understanding of what enough is, but is there an actual number of what enough actually is when you viewing it from the right perspective? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you're basically, so you're saying that in the eyes of a person that's morally right? In that person's eyes, like there is a set figure of what enough is, right? There's a universal limit on what enough is.
Exactly. Yeah, I believe. I guess that has to be a part of the question, because is there a standard of enough? I know biblically it says if you have two shirts, give a shirt away. You get what I'm saying? That's like a measure of being able to be sustained is enough.
Yeah, if you have
But
more than your means.
yeah, but is having two shirts too much?
So, for instance, money, right? How would we decide when we have? Oh, well, that's pretty simple though. If you have enough money, it just means you're capable of taking care of yourself.
But
No, but
what
it's
if
how do you
you want
decide
to
if it's
help
too much?
others? What if you want to use money to help the world out? You wouldn't have enough. It's like depending on your frame of purpose, or like what is you using this for. If you got a cup of water, enough is what, half of a cup for you, but enough for to feed your dog maybe a little more, a little less.
Like I said, it kind of depends because depending on what their purpose is, there is like a set limit. Like if I was trying to live comfortably, like there is a limit. Like there is a point where you reach enough money to where you can live comfortably. If we're trying to answer our original question, right? Say it again real quick because I'm gonna end up bringing it on screen.
How do you decide when something is enough?
So for instance, when it comes to a goal like that, there is a set limit. But I think to answer the question, we would have to say the goal itself has to be just. Like for instance, a person who's using substance abuse, right? Overindulges in cannabis, overindulges in like just hard drugs, right? There is no set limit in those instances. Like there shouldn't even be a goal to reach with those. Like no one can
Right.
say I'm only going to do this amount for this day and then do this amount, or I'm only going to spend this amount of money on this. In order for you to decide if it's enough, I think the goal or the whatever it is you're trying to decide is enough on, it has to be just before you decide a limit.
So this is what I'm hearing, right? Imagine there's up and there's down. There's a zero mark, and then there's a positive going up, and then there's negatives going down. And enough only exists in a positive. That means there will be a word for that negative side. What might that word be? Enough too much? Nah, because too much can be on the positive. Wait, that means enough positive will become negative, because too much will be on the positive side. No, what will be on the negative side?
I think that I understand what you're saying. I think it loses to a certain extent. I don't know if it loses sight of the question. Ultimately, we want to answer this question, right? How does somebody decide if there's too much, if when it's too much? I'm gonna have to bring it back up inside of the thing because I keep forgetting. So I'm gonna just bring it above us. But regardless, we're gonna have to decide when a person decides and they've done too. What is the question again, bro? So I can fucking say it right.
The question is, how do you decide when something is enough? The person don't choose enough. The purpose choose enough, and you choose your purpose.
Okay, I think you're on. I think you're onto something. So if the purpose is just, then it has. Or but the thing is, when I'm thinking, I keep referring back to the question. So the purpose decides. If the purpose decides, then is the person choosing the limit, or is it just them deciding on the purpose?
I don't think we can decide. I think this is what the idea of alignment is. to move from the place at which you can meet enough.
All right, so then let's say this: how does the person decide when they've had enough? So if the goal itself is just, if it's desirable, if it's morally correct, if the purpose and the objective is morally correct, right? Then there's already a point that you can reach, because if it's morally just, then there is no excess. There's already a limit to it.
Right.
So in conclusion, if what you're doing is morally right, then it already has a set amount on whatever it is.
In fact,
so the person doesn't decide when it's enough, or they can't decide when it's enough, because if they're a morally correct person, the morally correct dilemma already has a morally correct limit.
Okay, let's advance the question a little bit, because that was a perfect explanation. You in the green screen right now.
Yeah, I know. We'll see.
Right, so
you said advance the question.
Yeah, so I got a little add on to it, because I believe that was a perfect conclusion. That if we need to go around that any more, I'm not sure. All right, so what might it take to recognize enough? Like, if
how does a person? Oh, damn. Okay, so if a person is morally correct, they'll recognize it if they're a morally correct person. I think that could be a question on its own. I don't remember his name, and that's who I want to try and bring up real quick. He was basically begging. He was asking the question, like, what makes, like, I think it was a good person or a morally correct person, or it's exactly what we're asking, right? I don't remember what he was saying made it. It was I'm gonna search it real quick. Hold on. I think it was Socrates, low key. What does Socrates say about? There's a word for it, so I can find it. Like, what's the word I'm looking for to describe a morally just person?
Righteous.
The racist?
Righteous.
Oh, okay. That's close. Like, that's very close. There's a word for it. What does Socrates say about? I'm just gonna put in morality real quick. Virtue. That's what it was. So a virtuous person. That's where I think that's like a subnote. What makes a morally correct a morally just person? A morally just person, I want to say, and it's gonna be funny if I just look it up later and they're just synonyms, but a morally just person is a virtuous person. And basically, Socrates was asking the question, what do you believe? Because and just to tie it back into the original question, a virtuous person can recognize a morally just purpose, so that they can recognize when they've reached the point of enough. So to reiterate, what is a virtuous person? Or firstly, what is virtue? What do you think virtue is?
To me, virtue is the ability to not be shaken by reality, or by scenario, whatever it's called. Not be shaken by what's in front of you, but having a vision in your mind of what right is, in following that regardless of what reality tells you, if I'm not mistaken. But
would you say virtue are desirable qualities of in a person?
I mean, I wouldn't say desirable, because desirable is all according to the person.
Well, we're talking, if we're talking about virtue, then we're excluding people that are evil. We're talking about virtuous people. And it's like we were saying with the question, right? If a morally just cause has a limit, then there is, like, I don't want to say like a universal law, but there is like a requirement. So once more, we're talking about morally just people. We were saying what virtue is, and I asked you, would you say virtue is desirable qualities in a person?
From the perspective that you just spoke from, yes, I would.
Okay.
In fact,
Okay, let me go to the thing real quick where it lists, because it goes and talks about this right here. So it says I think that kind of goes hand in hand. It might go hand in hand with what you were saying.
I know where
But
you're going with this, and I believe that's what couldn't wait to go to.
so it says virtue is knowledge. It says Socrates argued that all virtues, such as, and he actually goes on to describe virtuous characteristics of a person. So it says Socrates argued that all virtues, such as courage, justice, and temperance, are essentially forms of wisdom. So
That takes experience
yeah,
and
so
tests and trials.
if a person truly understands what is right and what is in their best long-term interests, they will naturally act morally. So try and tie it back to our question. The question was that we ended up coming down to when we simplified it was, what makes a morally just person? And what makes a morally just person is a virtuous person. What is a virtuous person, or what is virtue? Are desirable characteristics in a person, or actually better definition would be is a knowledgeable person. A knowledgeable person will contain these virtues within them, and that virtuous person will be able to recognize where the limit is in a morally just goal. So I want to say that that's the answer to it.
But we can dive in deeper on that as well, because with that it takes like trials and tribulations, right? The ability to fall and get back up.
Right.
Say you wanna be a good friend. You you have one friendship, you overgive, they walk away. You don't give up, you come back and you give your heart away to your friend again, even though your last friend messed you up. And so you learn not to give as much, but don't like not give at all. And
Right.
so you begin to relive experiences in order to find the correct amount.
Right.
But I feel like it's a deeper layer here that we ain't scratching yet. All right, something just popped in my head. I don't know if we can find some out of this, but Kanye West, right? When he was on the stage that one time at the Grammys, and they asked, and he was like, everybody wanted to know what I'd do if I didn't have a Grammy, if I didn't win. And he was like, I
Yeah.
guess we never know.
Right.
What happens? I don't know.
Okay, wait. I have something. I don't know how long we'll talk about it, but something that recently happened, right? I'm gonna bring this up too. I want to say the Grammys recently happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he said word for word, but basically Kendrick Lamar won a Grammy, right? I think he won it for best hip hop song. I could be wrong. In like his acceptance speech, he ends up shouting out Jay-Z and Pusha T, right? Recently, the US Department of Justice, they released some of the
Epstein.
some of the Epstein files. And inside of there, they mentioned that Jay-Z and Pusha T, like there were like claims inside of there. I don't know exactly what they are. I can bring them up on this thing for reference. But basically it goes, they were just getting accused of like stuff that was going on on Epstein's island. Like they were indulging in that stuff. And the reason I bring up Kendrick Lamar and why it's relevant that he was shouting them out, the whole entire narrative that he formed in the middle of his rap beef with Drake was calling him like a pedophile. First off, do you think that actually happened? And then second off, do you think Kendrick Lamar is a hypocrite for that?
First, I would say I do. Honestly, I didn't hear about that. But if they were truly found in Epstein files, I'm honestly don't doubt it. Like,
Cause mind you, my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off. Cause mind you, Jay-Z was over here, like they have pictures of him with Aaliyah, like he's over here holding her hand and yeah, like he was holding her hand and shit like that. And mind you, she was like 17 at the time. He was like 28 or 26.
Uh-huh.
So this is like 10 times worse than whatever he was trying to accuse, because this is actually happened. These aren't just
But I want you to know something. They Drake tied in with some of them too. It's this is what throws me off because
You talking about in the
they
Epstein stuff?
huh?
You talking about in the Epstein files?
No, I'm talking about Jay Prince and them. Like they all in the same little world. Like the people who Drake is under is like they all a part of the same world. So it's like
No, yeah, 100%.
so while they into it, it's like y'all probably into it from like some brotherly type shit. It's not on no y'all come from the two different worlds. No, if y'all was to get into it, y'all got the same friends who gonna step in between it and reconcile y'all differences. Honest, bro, I believe this is it's a weird stage that they plan on. But I believe it's definitely hypocritical, extremely, and in the fact that you get on stage and on a halftime show and make all this symbolic stuff. And what I got from the symbolic, y'all right person, wrong time. Y'all let the wrong person get on stage. The revolution will be televised. Basically, like all this freedom stuff, while in the hands of those who in bondage us. Like I don't know. I don't think there's no mistakes, and I don't see Jay-Z mistakenly putting someone on the stage like Kendrick Lamar, knowing his message, knowing all of this.
Right.
And it's just weird to me. Kendrick Lamar claimed to follow Jesus and all of these things. So it's just weird.
It is because like the Epstein stuff, like bro, they were talking about like they were eating children and they were like cutting open babies and like eating their intestines and stuff like that. Like I don't know if it was Epstein specifically, but they were talking about the parties that they were having. Some like I think Epstein would be the person to come in and be like, so when are we killing people or something like that. Like it was normal to do those type of things at those parties. They were talking about there's some puppies outside and stuff if you want to keep yourself entertained. They were saying that his account, right, it's named after some type of, I think it was some type of Satan and stuff. I think it was Baal. I don't know if you know
Baal?
anything. Yeah, I don't know if you know anything about that or who that is. I think it's
Yeah, Baal is Baal.
yeah, so yeah,
It's
so yeah.
yeah, it's a biblical reference. It's the guy of confusion, goat head, human body. It was known for actually sacrificing. That's who they used to sacrifice to in
Yeah.
biblical times.
Yeah, and inside of these and inside of those documents, he named his like actual account, you know, he would send and transfer money from, or I think it was something like that. He named his account Ball. And inside in the actions that they were taking in there, they're still like they are still sacrificing people to this person. They are still quite literally doing what they were doing back then. They're still doing it now. Like they're still worshiping this guy, or
No,
they're
this
still
is what I
worshiping
want
this
you to.
guy.
You probably don't believe this when I say it how I'm gonna say it, but this God is not dead.
Yeah, I don't believe you mean like alive in the flesh or like
In
as
a
far as
spirit,
what?
of course, but it manifests in the flesh of people.
Yeah.
Like spirits, if we want to talk about spirits and how they work, I don't know if it's for this channel, but I didn't did my research.
No, yeah, go ahead, speak, say it, talk your shit.
Hold on, let me answer this phone call really fast. Okay, I got you. Can you call me when you turning up the thing? Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's already on. But no, like no BS. Like these it says we do not battle with flesh and blood. What this is explaining is this this is this world we on. The physical is the least of our concern. A person being mad, like the stuff that we have been discussing pretty much, like this physical is very small change. The physical only manifests because of the spiritual. You angry at everything is but probably because you need to realign with yourself. You probably didn't gave yourself over to too many gods, worshiping too much stuff outside of the one true God, you know? And
Yeah.
these things like the idea of living forever, right? You take you take somebody like Michael Jackson. He
Yeah.
still have an influence on this earth today. He still have hundreds of people going to get plastic surgery to change they whole, that never go back to being who they was, simply because of the influence that he had on their life.
Yeah.
That's not small. That's very soul level connection. Like people say, soul tie. Yeah, Michael Jackson did, but their souls are tied to this man. Like he become their identification of peace. He becomes their identification of love. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One person personality could live on through others. In the spirit, it says nothing is dead in the spirit. Only the flesh dies. You get what I'm saying? So these these connections, these whatever truth that Michael Jackson awoke in people, it it spreads not just to those people, but they will teach, and that belief will get spread onto them, whether it's from God, the devil, wherever it's from, or however they interpreted it. But this is actual life. This is eternal life, like in its realest. And so it's like, while bad traits will get weeded out eventually, because God's purpose will be fulfilled, and all the bad that was in the earth will go. Until
Yeah.
then, though, these powers that's been here since the beginning of the time that influence, and I ain't talking about Jesus. I'm talking about before Jesus walked the earth. He was a spirit, but even before then, that was beliefs in processes of getting things done that still work to the twos. But it's like these processes are real. The Jews, I'm sorry, you guys, the Jews, they
This
way of
guy.
doing things are are the powers that be. Like they operate in those aspects. You take 7 days of creation, and you hear it says, and God said, "Let there be light," and the light was good. Now imagine understanding that light and going around somebody who don't understand the light. So now you can use that light to manipulate somebody. It all came from good, but the person who hold the understanding has the real power. They get to transform it and turn it into what they want. And that was Baal, the one who understood the word, but twisted it to serve his own purpose.
Yeah.
That was exactly who Baal was. Like anybody who can understand truth and change it for their purpose is under the spirit of Baal.
Yeah.
Like this is Baal. Christ is those who put down their flesh to pick up the truth. That is Christ. But it's not because you walking like him, but because his spirit literally lives inside of you. And so does Baal live inside of those people. And so does this person live inside of it. Michael Jackson live in this person. Believe it or not, whoever your idol is, you literally pull from life. That's where your life comes from.
Yeah.
And so,
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're not like you're acknowledging these like these demons and stuff like that, you can't acknowledge these. You can't acknowledge this bad and not acknowledge, God. Like, you can't acknowledge. You can't not. Oh my goodness! Now I gotta shoot the whole fucking place up because I keep stuttering. You can't just not acknowledge Jesus and all the stuff that happened with that. Like, you can't acknowledge creation and all the goodness in the world. Like, they're literally telling you what's gonna happen if you keep doing these bad things, if you keep indulging in these sins and stuff like that. But they literally continue to keep going with it. Like, where do they think their soul is gonna go once the physical is gone? Like, this, it's literally being told to them. But go
but
ahead.
I think that's the idea of the Egyptian, like being freed from those gods, because it's like I don't think they truly they have a option, but that option is very hard. Like Like I said before, imagine having $50 million and they say, "Hey, get rid of these slaves," but those slaves is how you got your 50 million.
All right, so this one is basically going to be us. It's basically going to be us versus Socrates. Well, you might agree with him. I know what he was saying right here, I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm gonna bring it up right here. I'm gonna bring the prompt up right here for everybody. But he says basically no one willingly does evil. Right here it says this is known as the Socratic paradox. Socrates believed that wrongdoing is simply a result of ignorance. He argued that people only choose actions they believe will benefit them. Therefore, if someone does something bad, they are mistakenly perceiving it as a good or a benefit. So basically, to summarize it, no one in the world does bad. No one in the world is willingly doing evil. They just do what is good for them or benefits them. So I'll give my take on it. I want to hear what you think.
I agree. I do believe that people do because they don't know. Like, for one, if you recognize the true way and you knew, and not only knew, you understood and you trust completely the right way, you would submit without hesitation. If you knew when you got all that you wanted without focusing on figuring out why you want it, you wouldn't be happy. I think people in ignorance would test that path of making all the money because they still have to know what they don't know. But once they realize what's up that path, they will turn around because they know what truly works. And they gonna recognize, okay, that was fun, but that's not good. So I believe that they will make mistakes still, but those mistakes will only be to learn from their mistakes. So that would be without knowing.
My take on it, I don't believe that. I think there are people in this world that they know what evil is and they acknowledge evil, but they still choose to do the bad thing. I don't think people just mistakenly do something bad like out of ignorance. I definitely think people have the knowledge of good and bad. Majority of the time, I want to say people know that they're doing a bad thing, but they'll still choose it because it benefits them. So relatively speaking, yeah, it might be a good for them and it might be a benefit for them and they might see it as good, but it's not a mistake that they're seeing it as good.
But that is because they not aware of the true cost of it. Like, you can be aware of the evil, but you're not aware of the cost of evil. You get what I'm saying? You do it because it feel good right now, but you're not recognizing the damage it's doing. But if you was aware and fully in knowledge of the damage and what it feels like to change from being in complete control to giving up control, you will fix it. You get what I'm saying? If you're aware of it, but that takes to know and not to be in the dark about it.
So let me say this. Imagine somewhere, and this is going to be like, these are no particular people in the world. This is just an example. Like because I'm more than sure this situation has happened somewhere in the world. So let's say these people kidnapped a person, right? They kidnapped this person because the benefit of it was somebody going to pay them money, and they know that the money will benefit them. They see the money as a good, and they quite literally know that this is a bad thing. If a priest came out the cut and they're like, kidnapping this person is going to be wrong, right? They are going to know that it's a wrong thing to do, but they're still going to do it because of the good that is the money that they're going to get. I'm not saying like a priest came out to somebody before and said that. I'm adding more stuff to it to like get the point across. With that being said, that person would more than likely still go out, kidnap that person and give them to whoever's paying, whatever amount of money for them to go and do that. I get what you were saying, like they're doing it but not aware of the ultimate cost of it. And here he was also saying that, injustice is like the ultimate harm to the soul. He was saying, and I'll pull the other part of it on top of the thing too. He said, better to suffer than commit injustice. So he was saying that he held committing a wrong harms the soul of the perpetrator more than the victim. That's exactly, or you could correct me if I'm wrong, but that's that's exactly what you're talking about. Like they don't know the ultimate cost that it's doing to them. But I do think there's people in this world that still chose to do the wrong and were aware of the ultimate cost. The ultimate cost just doesn't benefit. Just it's not in their mind because they weigh it less than the amount of money they would get
But
to kidnap this person.
It's also not in their mind because they don't know what that experience is like. So right now feels more important, and they gonna deal with that. But like people say, I'm gonna deal with that. What they say, I'm gonna deal with that something when it comes. It's basically like we live in. It's YOLO. You only live once. You get what I'm saying? This is what these sayings are saying. It's like we get what y'all saying about this, but it's the only time I'm gonna live this life.
But if I'm wrong, that's quite literally the acknowledgement of the bad. That's the acknowledgement of the ultimate cost.
Yeah, but it's because they don't know what they actually doing. Like they don't know what the ultimate cost feel like. So they gonna live it right now. You get what I'm saying? If you knew that, okay, people be like, okay, bodies can't burn in hell. Okay, they can't. There will be no bodies. But if you recognize the burning sensation of truth and full awareness and no ability to turn back, it's completely different. Like, imagine feeling guilty about something and they eat at you a little bit. But now imagine experiencing guilt, not just because of what you recognize you did, but all the things that you didn't recognize was going on underneath. Not just with that person, but who you shorted yourself of what the potential you had as a, like, just imagine coming to all these realizations. That person never even sat and thought about those realizations. So that'll hurt them more than anything, but they don't even think that far. You get what I'm saying? To sit in a cell and have to reflect on what you did. Like, they don't even think that far. So you can't say thinking about the afterlife is a thing.
I'm glad you were saying that, because I'm gonna end up bringing it back to something that we talked about. The topic that we're talking about right now, right? No one does evil willingly, right? So let me say this: you're saying that they're not aware in the moment of the ultimate cost, right? That's not in their mind at the moment with the ultimate cost. Well, the thing that I'm gonna tie it back to is when we were talking about earlier with the people who are involved with Epstein and stuff like that. They still worship and idolize this demon called Baal or whatever his name is. It was like we were talking about. You can't acknowledge one without acknowledging the other. These people acknowledge what they're doing is bad, and to them it's good, right? Like this is the good thing that they're doing, because it's benefiting them. It's to their benefit. But that ties back into what we were doing. These people are willingly doing evil and willingly committing these acts, knowing that it's going to damn their soul, knowing that that's the ultimate harm. Like Socrates was saying, like that's the ultimate wrong, and it harms the soul. They have a whole island dedicated to these people. They still choose the wrong, even though they know where the quote unquote right is. So that's why I'm saying people know what they're doing when they do these things. I don't think anyone just does evil because no one in there is saying, oh, I don't know that killing a baby and eating their intestines is wrong. I'm just doing it to my benefit. That is, no matter where you're at on the scale, this is a wrong thing to do. People anywhere can acknowledge this is a wrong thing to do. That's why I don't think that's true that people do evil by mistake. They don't just do it out of ignorance. These people know what they're doing.
By mistake, but it's out of ignorance. Yes.
Well, ignorance and ignorance is quite different from the mistake. But that was the original question. Was
let me ask you something. If you are under control of something, do you have a will?
No.
You said you don't have a will?
Yeah, if you're under control of something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you have a will if you're under control of something.
All right, now think about a person who
I don't think these people are under hold on,
I'm not talking about nothing.
your character
spiritual.
disappeared.
Like they ain't talking about no hocus pocus.
You heard me?
Huh?
Your character disappeared.
Oh shit.
Stop. Why is it being here?
All right, you back. Go ahead. Saying they're under control by desire. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, you could give them the cop out and say that they're controlled by their desires, but you have a choice at the end of the day. It's not like you can't overcome these things. So while while desires and stuff, while desires have like a big what would you call it? A big attraction, right? So there's a big attraction to what you desire, right? Even though there's a big attraction, say they're under the control of their desires, I wouldn't say under control. This solely works if you're a religious person. If you don't believe in God and stuff like that, that could be a whole entirely different conversation that can be had. But as far as this, God gave somebody free will. They gave them the opportunity to choose. They're not under control of their desires, because if they were just controlled by their desires, they wouldn't be able to release themselves from their desires. Because if you're under the control of something, it's up to the whatever's controlling you to decide, here's your freedom back. So they're not under control of their desires. They have the choice, but they continue to choose their desires instead of choosing what's right. In this instance, they're willingly choosing evil.
I mean, you don't get desires from just out of nowhere. You probably be interested in trying something, but you don't have the true desire for it unless you see people start smoking. But it takes your eyes to be introduced to something, then for you to try it. And then in that moment, before trying, you're not wrong, because you're not, unless you can be told a million times, okay, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. Because this, because that, because this. But if you never experience this or that, you don't have a reference for what that means as far as danger or as far as correction. You get what I'm saying? But I don't want to keep going if I ain't making sense.
You're saying people do wrong because they don't recognize what right is?
Yeah, like at the first time. And no, I'm saying people do wrong because they don't recognize wrong. They recognize a new experience. Even though if they know it's wrong, they have no experience of what that wrong is. It's just,
that's not true. Well, that's not true, because I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna bring it back to this. We had said you can't acknowledge one without acknowledging the other. You can't acknowledge God without acknowledging, or you can't acknowledge the devil without acknowledging God. These people acknowledge true. God. That is true. How would you say the devil's real but God doesn't exist?
Because you can experience darkness but not perceive light. The world was dark before the light came.
Right. But in this instance,
This
God
instance too,
God in
people
this
wouldn't do that stuff if they experienced light. So this is why, like true light, like the recognition of what they're doing. Like you can have a guilty conscience, but the moment that thing click in your mind, they don't have that. So that click is what light is. You get what I'm saying? Not what he say, she say, they say. People tell me this, but nah, when that thing click in your mind is when you know. You get what I'm saying? So you can't. That is what it means to not understand, because you ain't even got to understand how to click, but you just know in that moment. And so before that, you can live your life the best you want to, but when that click happens, you know. But being aware or hearing stuff or seeing stuff, we start off in that place, in that place of evil, and it only get deeper.
I'm gonna keep bringing it to this example because I believe it's an extremely great example. So take example, a Satanist, right? A Satanist,
Yeah.
or Satanism, or however you want to, or whatever it is. These people will do crazy things, like I had said earlier, like sacrificing and all this other weird stuff. Even if you want to just strip it down to its bare minimum, these people know taking the life of somebody is universally bad. There's no way to look at taking someone's life as good. So in this instance, they know this is bad, but it's going to be good for insert whatever the goal is right here. So that's not done out of ignorance, that's done with knowledge.
But in ignorance of who God is, the moment you ask them, but why would you do such a thing? If you don't know who the devil is, you know who God is. They gonna say, yo, God ain't never did nothing for me, because the God we speaking of and the God they believe in is not the same God. So they are aware that there's a God that exists, but the characteristics of who they believe God should be is distorted, which is blindness. And so they can't see that they're wrong. Wrong is as wrong as it truly is, because they don't even believe in God in the aspect that we take him as. You get what I'm saying? So that's blindness. It's not perceiving.
I get what you're saying, okay, so let's remove the analogy of God versus the devil. That's why I said when we break it down to its simplest form, right? If you break it down to like just simpleness, focus on like a sacrifice, right? It's not we're not really talking about God versus the devil. We're talking about taking somebody's life. We can remove like the evil factor out of it. They know, regardless if they're blind towards God, right? Somebody came and killed them, they'd understand that person is wrong for trying to kill me. So when you break it down to this simple form, they understand what wrong is. Because if somebody came to try and kill them, they would see the person as wrong for killing them. If you ask them, well, why is it wrong for that person killing you? And their response would be like, because I don't want to die. So these people can acknowledge sacrificing somebody is wrong, or doing it with the knowledge of that it's wrong, instead of doing it out of ignorance.
I think I see where our disconnect is. I'm more of like a definition guy. When people saying stuff, I try to understand what they mean when they saying what they saying. So you keep using the word wrong.
Right.
For there to be a wrong, there has to be a standard of right. Do you believe a person in that mindset standard of wrong and right is? Do you think it's the same as someone? I think of a person who, like you said, take away the evil and all of this, but this is the prime thing in all of this of this is the part that eliminates the argument from a total perspective, because while it don't have to be religious, it's still the absence of recognizing. You get what I'm saying? That moment where it click in your head.
Well, this is why I brought up somebody getting killed, because regardless of like you were saying, what someone's definition of wrong, like let's say there's a person on the left, their definition of wrong is right, and then this person on the right, their definition of right is wrong. They're complete opposites, right? That's why I brought up death, because no matter what side you stand on, and I was bringing it up to try and show a universal example of a wrong, whichever side you stand on, if somebody were to go up to those people and try and kill them, these people, whether they're on the left or they're on the right, they would say this person is wrong for trying to take my life, whichever side they're on. That's universal. Nobody wants to die, and taking a life or taking my life is wrong. So if they were to go and kill somebody, they would know killing someone isn't the right thing to do, but they're only doing it for their benefit, acknowledging that it's bad.
But while knowing that they're in delusion of their reasoning for why they agree, but why they still do follow through even though they disagree that it is good. So look, imagine this, right? This is why I keep bringing up realization. Imagine that person, or you. Have you ever yelled at your cousin, instantly apologized in your own mind, or anything of the sort? This is just daily stuff. And then instantly you apologize in your mind. In that moment of apology, you recognize. In a moment of yelling, you didn't see. You was blinded by whatever you felt, but that made you yell. You were blind. Yes, you knew right from wrong, but you acted off impulse, which is blindness, which is emotion, which is not, you don't see. That's why they say I see red, because you're not aware of what you're doing. You're acting off of something that don't make sense. So now later when you have time to recognize, you often beat yourself up about things.
What about in the cases where things like this are planned? It can't really be attributed to in the moment or impulse. It was premeditated.
It still is impulse, because while it's not surface level impulse, just like off the bat, imagine, that's why I said once you introduce to something, you do it again and do it again. Now your impulse is stronger and your flesh is stronger, so they battle each other. Imagine not wanting to do something, but just knowing the experience it feels like. It's blindness still, because while you in this place, it's just like, this is what the idea, this is why the Bible don't have to be spiritual. Like the idea is quote unquote spiritual, because this is physical thought processes that we go through on a daily. Like you fight with yourself on doing something. While you know right and wrong, you still lost in the urge versus your ability to fight the urge, which is blindness in that moment. Because the moment you get done with it, you feel shame, you feel regret, because you see clearly in that moment. Like we go through these things daily, so we don't sin because we see clearly. We sin because we lost in blindness of emotion and impulse.
So I'm having this disconnect. My disconnect comes from the whole question is, or my whole argument is, there are people who do evil knowingly, but when I'm hearing you where you're saying there's people who are like so caught up in like their earthly self that they're not in the moment to understand what it is they're doing wrong. But then you'll go off and say something like, this person knows right from wrong, and that right there is where my disconnect is happening, because you're saying they know right from wrong, which is my whole argument, is that they know right from wrong, but they're doing evil.
But they don't do it willfully.
But that's
the part.
They do it willingly, because everyone has their own free will to do whatever it is they want.
So you believe that it's possible for somebody to just do meth and just get off meth, just like walk around and just be like, I'm done. I don't want to do it no more.
I 100% believe that, because I have gotten drunk before, and it's not as hardcore as something like meth, but I was able to drink and be like, I'm kind of done. I don't want to drink no more. I could quite literally walk away from it and never want to do it again. I entirely believe somebody can do it and walk away. They're just choosing not to.
Why do you think they choose not to?
Because they know it's wrong, but they still do it.
But why do you think that they don't do it? Because most people don't see their power, their potential. Most people have been through things that told them otherwise is possible. So they are blind, they can't see in that way either. So what I'm saying is most people, how they move and the way different people is all because of loss of potential, which is blindness in some part of yourself. And so when it comes down to those who end up in these certain situations, is because they lost parts of themselves that humans shouldn't have to lose, which makes them blind to reality, which makes them caught up in this place where they can't see clearly. So when they finally do recognize, they come to a realization, but before then they couldn't see and they didn't have control over their will because they couldn't see. And you can't just sit here and say they should have saw, they should have paid attention more, because some people environments don't let them. Some people childhoods tell them early when they 3 years old, and certain things happen, and now they gotta be in certain places and certain beliefs pop in their mind. And at this point, you are who you believe you are.
Are you thinking people
So
stay addicted to stuff out of ignorance?
yes,
I
I believe
don't.
they believe they know right and wrong, but if you knew the truth of who you truly were and at the maximum potential, you wouldn't do none of this stuff. But we are blind, so we don't have will. We are controlled by our environment and what our beliefs is because of our environment.
I hear what you're saying, but before we go off into other subjects, I wanna bring it back to the people that do know the right from the wrong. Because in this instance, we're talking about people who are so blinded in their vices that they can't see right from wrong. Because like I said, that's where my disconnect is coming, where somebody is stuck in their
Them
vices.
people know right from wrong.
The people who are doing drugs.
Yeah, they know right from wrong. They know they shouldn't be doing them drugs, but at the end of
But
the
you
day,
can't. But you can't. But see. But you're confusing me, because you're saying they're blinded and they can't see what they're doing is right and wrong, and then you're telling
No,
me
I didn't say that. I said
you said they were.
don't know their potential. They don't know who they are, so they don't perceive that they're capable of achieving certain things, or they're worth more than that. You get what I'm saying?
And because of that, that would be being blinded to right and wrong. You can't. You can't.
Reality. No, they know right and wrong. They know you shouldn't kill. They know you shouldn't steal. They know you shouldn't do none of this. But life told them different. Everything else told them different. You get what I'm saying? So they are blinded by their reality versus something that people call truth or
So
good or
you said they're
bad.
blinded. They're blinded by their reality, but they
Their
know. But
reality.
but they know right from wrong. That's where, like, I'm extremely confused, because
Because like
because
if you
I feel
hungry, you're
you
not
you have
worried
to
about.
you have to explain it to me with the you have to explain it to me with my argument in mind. I feel like you're explaining to me.
What's your argument?
So my argument is, people know right from wrong, and they do it, and they do evil willingly, knowing right from wrong. They don't do it on accident. But
Okay.
you're explaining it to me in a way where you're agreeing with me, like, yeah, they do know right from wrong, and then you'll disagree right after and say, but they're blinded in their reality.
Okay, look, state the question one more time and I'm gonna answer it right after.
So my argument is that everyone does evil willingly. I don't think, or I keep saying everyone because I'm looking at the text right here and I'm replacing it with its antonym, but I don't think anyone. So let me not confuse you. I'm gonna give you the definition right here.
Just give me the quote. The quote he said.
So, or my argument is, there are people in this world that do evil knowingly. And his question is, there are people that only do evil out of ignorance. I don't believe people do evil out of ignorance. There probably are some people in this world that do it out of ignorance. I'm more than sure there is, instead of just assuming. But I know that there are people in this world that do evil willingly. It's not all the time 100% out of ignorance.
No, but okay, we talking about different points of ignorance. You talking about ignorance like in a moment. I know I'm gonna kill somebody. It's about to be bad. Let me not kill him. I mean, I'm still gonna kill him anyway. Of course, they know that when they about to kill somebody, it's gonna be bad. I'm saying I'm using bad language, but yes, they know it's gonna be bad. But what I'm saying is the reason they got to this place in the first place of being willing to kill somebody the way that they do is through ignorance, loss of potential, through environment, through life experience. So you end up in a place as an effect, not a cause, but as an effect, you end up in this place because of ignorance that you are willing to kill somebody or shoot somebody, which in my eyes is blindness, which isn't willful. Because if this, I'm sorry, but I'm finna zoom out. If the system or the world was a bit different, and it's not a perfect world, there wouldn't be type of environments where people have to resort to these type of things because there's more than enough resources.
Okay, I'm gonna bring up one more point. If I can't get an understanding right here, then we're probably just gonna have to agree to disagree. So where you were saying in places where people have to resort to these things, right?
Yes.
The key word inside of this sentence is resort. When we say resort, that means we have to go to something that wasn't necessarily our first option. We have to resort to something. These people in these areas where there's not enough resources, right? These people know right from wrong because they have to resort to doing their least desirable outcome. So people have to go and steal and loot because there's not enough of resources, right? But these people, and we're establishing that they know right from wrong, but they have to resort. These people know this is right and wrong. It's wrong to go and steal, but they have to do it for resources. In this instance, and like I said, this is my argument. These people are doing wrong, knowing that it's wrong and not choosing to do right. So they're knowingly doing evil in this instance. I get that they're devaluing what's right because what's good to them is more beneficial than what's right. But in this instance, this is what I'm saying. They're knowingly doing wrong and they know what the right thing is, but they don't want to do it. They're doing what's wrong. They're resorting to these actions.
So say I want to become a fight man, right?
Before we give another example, because I feel like us constantly giving examples it's straying us further from the truth. So I want to stay in this example before we start arguing another one. So in this example, is this not my argument in effect? Or am I wrong for seeing it this way?
Wait, huh?
So the example that we were just talking about, right? Having a resort to doing something. Resort in this instance is the key word, and resort meaning they have to do their least, not least, but they have to do resort to an outcome that isn't necessarily their plan A, right? Which is why we're using the word resort, right?
Yeah.
So in this example in this example that you were giving me, are they not putting into effect my argument?
In what way?
To where I was saying that these people, bringing it back to resorting, these people are resorting to doing wrong in this instance.
I wasn't gonna go to wrong, but go ahead.
Well, inside of this example, wrong. These would be the wrong actions, because when we say resort, we're not going to say we're going to resort to doing the right thing, right? That wouldn't make sense. We can't resort to do the right thing, because when we say resort, that means we're going to do something that we either wouldn't or choose to normally do.
That wasn't our first, like you said, plan A.
Yeah. So you can't just go around doing wrong and just say, oh, I guess we got to resort to doing what's right. I mean, you could, but in this instance, that's not what's going on.
It depends on whether, like, reasoning as well.
And mind you, I'm not saying nobody in the world does evil out of ignorance. I'm saying there are people in this world that do evil knowingly.
You saying out of ignorance, and then you saying what's the
No,
other?
so I'll say my original argument again. There are people in this world that
Knowingly.
do evil willingly and don't do it out of ignorance. And in this instance, these people who are resorting to having to steal in places where there's not, in environments where like there isn't resources readily available to them, and they have to resort to stealing. When we say resort, we know what the favorable outcome we should have, but we have to resort to doing what's best for us. In this instance, it's showing my argument that these people know what's right and what's wrong, but they have to resort to what's doing right for what's best for them.
No, I agree that they know right from wrong. What I'm saying, there's a veil, because if this same young kid or whoever it may be who's doing these things, found out that there's a way to make $1 million in 2 seconds, so legally they wouldn't do it, or that, and that's a dramatic example, or that they can really go to school for 9 years. I mean, I said for 9 years.
I don't mean to cut you off, but it's the reason why I'm saying I don't want us to constantly keep giving examples. I want us to focus on this specific instance where somebody knows right from wrong.
Okay. All right, well, you got to give me what I'm saying is knowing right from wrong is different than having the capacity to do right from wrong, right? And I say this simply off the idea of perspective. Certain people believe things because of their environment, their perspective on life. So that is your blindness right there. The way people believe life goes, and whether right or wrong is a big deal or not. Like somebody will say, oh, I just broke in a house. They know what's right or wrong is, but what they are blind to is the truth of behind it. If you and people really, a little kid will really think, I just stole a car. Kids get in the car all the time thinking.
I don't think we can agree on it, because trust me, I hear what you're saying, but you keep going into my argument, agreeing with me, and then saying the complete opposite. We can't have
but
both.
I'm telling you why I disagree, because it's definition.
But I'm saying, like, you can't have both things. Can't be true at the same time. They can't know what's right from. They can't know what's right from wrong, and still like, this is my argument. They know right from wrong and are choosing evil. Like, you're agreeing with me in my argument, and then you'll say but they're doing this because of like impulse or blindness to their environment has diluted what's right from wrong. Like, you can't agree with the argument and then go and say the opposite.
Some people don't choose evil, they just can't resist it. How about that?
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I'm saying that doesn't relate to my argument.
It does, because your argument is, do they willfully sin? What is your argument?
That there's people in this world that do evil knowingly. You get what I'm saying? You'll agree with me with these people, and then you'll go off and talk about the people that don't know.
Yes, you can't say you did it by mistake, but what I will say, there's 100,000 driving forces behind that knife that occurred. That you said you understand this, so I don't understand what the disconnect is. You said it's $100,000. I said $1,000. 100,000 things driving this person before that knife happened. Yesterday up until 20 years ago. I keep saying 100 almost. And so,
but if it's wrong, it doesn't matter though. If it's wrong, it don't matter. You're giving these people their cake and eating it too. If a woman is unhappy in a relationship and the guy ignores her, the guy cheats on her, and she poisons him and take his life, that doesn't make it right. Of course, there's other factors going into it on why she did that, and there was like multiple different possibilities happening that are coming into her mind and making her do this thing. Of course, there's more that's playing into it, but when it comes down to what's right and wrong, she's wrong for poisoning that person. It's wrong. If you have the knowledge of right and wrong, if you have the knowledge of right and wrong, it doesn't matter what brought you to that wrong. If you're choosing to do wrong, it's wrong. So whoever ends up looking at this can decide for themselves on what they believe. But we're arguing the same thing, just with a different example.
How can they both make sense in different examples and both be wrong?
Because I'm explaining, can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't know right and wrong and be like, oh, I can't help it. If you know right and wrong, then that automatically takes away all the immunity that you had and makes it wrong. You choose wrong.
Well, folks, sit with that one.
Whoever wants to give their take on this and what they have to say, I'd like to hear it. But all right, so you can find Asano, all of his stuff on the left side of this screen, and then you can find my stuff over here if I can fit it on the right side. If you want to follow us on our respective stuffs, go ahead. And then that's it.